So I do want to talk a little bit about our program because I know that some of you have not been introduced to the Master of International Affairs program at SIA. And so I want to quickly go through some key talking points about our program. We do offer a professional master's degree in international affairs. Again, if you're here for a different program or you're interested in a different career track, this webinar today may not be for you. And so I just wanted to be upfront about that so you can, have your lunch hour back, if you will. Depending on where you are in the world, it's lunch here on the East Coast of the US. It is different than an academic degree where you are particularly working on getting skills necessary for a PhD or you're writing a thesis or things like that. We're focused on career readiness. We provide a lot of support around students getting jobs once they leave our program, internship components throughout our program, professional development, simulations that we do. And so we're working on the skills necessary to get a job after graduation. We are a member of the Association for Professional Schools of International Affairs. Really, just in short, this means that we, with a lot of other schools, about 30 to 35 schools, are a part of a consortium of the top international affairs schools globally. And we're just really proud to be a part of this. It's not easy to be an APSIA school, and it just speaks to the rigor and the quality of our program, as well as our faculty and career support. We offer an interdisciplinary, flexible, and customizable curriculum. So students can choose one of 12 concentrations or completely create their own. And this is made possible by the ability to take classes anywhere at Penn State in any program, whether that be liberal arts, business, engineering, and so much more. We offer education abroad. So if you're interested in going to another country to study for a semester or for a summer, through our program, it will not delay your graduation. You can earn graduate credit while you're abroad, learn another language, engage in another culture. That's absolutely possible through our program. We have elite experienced faculty from former U.S. ambassadors to folks who have worked in the White House and have illustrious public service careers, as well as faculty who are top in their field in terms of subject matter. And of course, we have an over 90% career attainment rate. Right now, it is a 93.8% career attainment rate within 1 year of graduation. All right, so let's get into why you're here. Let's talk about the application requirements and how to apply to our program. If you have anything to take notes with, this is a great time to do it. We will have this up on YouTube later on. So if you want to go back and give you an opportunity to pause and rewind and get some of this information, I'm going to be giving you some golden nuggets today regarding the application process and how really to put together a good application for our program. We want you to succeed. We want you to give you the best chance to succeed on our application. And these are just some best practices. Now, this is not exhaustive, and every application is going to be different, especially when you're applying to graduate programs. But we are giving you kind of the guide rails to be able to put together an application that is of quality. So some important deadlines for our Master of International Affairs program. Please keep in mind the January 31st, 2024 deadline. This is for merit-based scholarship consideration. For best consideration for admission and merit-based scholarships, you must have an entirely completed application by January 31st. So if you're here with us right now, now is a great time to begin to craft your application and put it together. And I highly recommend that you give yourself a deadline of December 31st to actually submit the application so that you don't have to worry about making the deadline on January 31st. The absolute final deadline for admission is March 21st, although we cannot guarantee that merit-based scholarships will be available. That's why we really want you to apply by January 31st. Applying by March 21st is not a great recipe for success, but we will still accept your application if you apply after that. After March 21st, we can't guarantee that there are any seats available, although we will be going on a rolling admission basis. And we definitely can't guarantee that there will be scholarships available. So really shoot for that January 31st deadline. After that, it's kind of up in the air whether or not we have availability with seats and merit-based scholarships. Okay, here are here's the broad overview of our application requirements and how to apply. So first, in order to apply, you must visit our website and you'll see all of the requirements there. This will include a current resume or CV, your official transcripts, or a copy of your official transcripts is really what we need for the application, a statement of purpose, the contact information for 2 letters of recommendation. You must complete program-specific requirements at the end of the application. And if you're an international student, you must provide proof of English proficiency through the IELTS or TOEFL exam. The IELTS exam, you need a minimum of a 6.5 overall band score. And for the TOEFL exam, you need a minimum of an 80 on the internet-based test with a 19 on the speaking section. Unfortunately, there are no exemptions for TOEFL or IELTS, except for if you are on Penn State's exemption list. If you've earned a degree in a country that is English speaking primarily, and it is recognized by Penn State as such, you can find that on our website, then you will be exempt from TOEFL or IELTS. Outside of TOEFL or IELTS, there is no other exemption process, and we cannot accept the Duolingo English test exam. Okay. The final piece here for international students is your conferred degree must be comparable to a U.S. 4-year bachelor's degree. If you go onto our website, that link there on the slides, you will find a database where you can search the country in which you've earned your degree to determine what you need to submit and the type of degree that you need to be eligible for admission to our program. So do your due diligence, look on our website, and go through to find your country in which you've earned a degree in order to determine what needs to be submitted upon application for a successful application. All right. So now that we've gone through what is necessary for the application, we're going to slow it down a little bit and break down the key parts of our application for you to be able to successfully submit it on time and at a high quality. Now, this is your time where you can take notes, maybe take some screenshots of our presentation today so that you have it later. Now, we do have, again, the recording will be up on YouTube later, which you can then, again, pause and rewind at your leisure or speed it up. All right, so the most important part of the application is the statement of purpose. Now, to kind of rewind slightly and slow down is we review our applications, and our committee will review the applications in a holistic manner. Weaknesses in one area can be overcome by strengths in another area. Do we look at GPA? Yes. Do we look at your transcripts? Yes. These are not, though, the most important part of the application, or not the sole reason why we admit or deny certain individuals from attending our program. We definitely look at everything on the application, such as your experiences, maybe the types of classes you took, or maybe international experience that you've had, any publications or research that you've done. We're really looking at the applicant as a whole. So don't think that if your GPA is a little lower than maybe average, that you're out of the race here. Don't sell yourself short. Go ahead and submit your application anyway, and really put effort into some of the other areas to prove to us that you're ready to take on graduate learning. However, I will say that the statement of purpose really is the most important piece because it ties everything together. This is where you get to show us that you're ready for graduate school, that you've seriously considered the Penn State School of International Affairs, and that you're prepared once you leave our program to get a great job, make us proud, and make yourself proud, and go and do great things in the world. So please keep that in mind as we go through today. There are 2 prompts on the website to choose from. These prompts, and I'll go a little bit into this later, is the 2 prompts are set on purpose because 1, we want to make sure that you can follow directions, easy directions, but 2, we want to keep things focused. So you'll see on our website the 2 prompts. you'll pick one and you'll stick to that prompt for the entire statement of purpose. A typical statement of purpose is 500 to 750 words, which is about cover letter style. And this is your chance to showcase your writing ability and command of the English language as well. When we read through our statements of purpose, we want to make sure that not only is the content good, but it flows well. It has the paragraph structure is there. You're writing concisely. Everything makes sense. You're not missing periods or commas or semicolons where they should be, and you're writing properly. And that's really important as well. So don't focus so much on the content of the statement of purpose that you forget that the grammar and the sentence structure and all of that is also important. We want to make sure that you're writing well, because that's going to be very important if you're admitted into our program, is your ability to write. More information here on the statement of purpose. Some do's. Pick a prompt and stick with it. Don't accidentally dip into the other prompt or completely write on a whole different subject. Sometimes we'll see students, when they apply, they want to write about some issue that isn't particularly related, or they'll kind of go into one prompt and swerve on the road of writing a really good prompt and talk about a completely different issue. So make sure that you are sticking with the same prompt and everything flows logically and makes sense in your statement of purpose. You want to show the admissions committee that Penn State is your top choice. What does this mean? It means that you've done your homework on the program. It means you've gone on our website and you've looked at our professors, the classes that are available, the concentrations that you can choose from, and that you have an idea of the direction you want to head once you get into our program. What types of opportunities are you going to engage in while you're at Penn State? You don't need to know exactly what you want to be when you grow up. A common phrase that I've been saying lately, you don't need to know exactly what that is, but have an idea, have a direction so that you can logically fit Penn State School of International Affairs on that journey to getting to where you want to go once you graduate. Include information on concentrations, classes, professors, and opportunities. You want to include these things as well. Your motivation for going into graduate school, particularly at Penn State. What has motivated you in your life? What classes have you taken? What was your childhood like? Did you grow up in a particular situation that has caused you to want to focus on climate change or the effects of natural disasters on economies or things like that? What have you experienced in life that has motivated you up until this point to get here? What are your post-graduation goals? Where do you want to be once you leave Penn State? What's the type of role or the type of organization or the type of issue that you want to tackle once you leave here? And then how does Penn State fit into these goals? How specifically at SIA, what types of opportunities, what professors or faculty members, classes that you can take that fit into your post-graduation goals? Again, a 500 and 750 word statement of purpose is the sweet spot. More is better than less, but don't write too much. The admissions committee has quite a few statements of purpose to read, and we don't want to read 15,000 word dissertations, although I'm sure you have a lot of things that you could write about. I think that's great, but please don't write really too much more than 750 words. And the other piece of this is we want to make sure that you can get to your point in a quick way. Part of the skills that you'll get in our program is being able to take a lot of information and concisely boil it down to the key talking points. And so this is also a part of the application as well. Your final do on the statement of purpose is reread, edit, rinse, and repeat. So make sure that you reread and edit your statement of purpose a few different times until you're satisfied with the final product. At some point, you're going to have to submit it. So don't toil too much with this, but maybe give it to a professor or a friend that you trust to read it over. It's always good to get second or third eyes on something to get some positive, constructive criticism back on it. But have someone reread it, edit it, and then finally submit it. Some do nots on the statement of purpose. Do not copy and paste statements of purpose from other programs. What does this mean? If you're applying to another program within the consortium of APSIA, and we see that there is another school accidentally named within your statement of purpose, and then later on it says, I can't wait to join the Penn State School of International Affairs. Well, the committee is going to be a little concerned that we're not your top choice, or that you're not really interested in coming here specifically. So make sure that you're writing original work for our program specifically. We want to know that you care about us, even though we know, of course, you're probably applying to other programs, but the committee is going to look favorably upon applicants who make it clear that we're in the running for top choices of graduate programs for you. The other thing is, even if you change the names around, there are other indicators that show us that you're really just changing the school name in your statement of purpose, and you're copying and pasting essentially along the line for all of your applications. And so please make sure that you're writing original work. And there are some other key indicators that we can see for that particularly. This is why we want you to start your application as soon as possible, because you're probably applying to a lot of places. We want to make sure you have enough time to do all of your applications in a shorter amount of time. All right. Do not use AI or plagiarize. We really don't want you to use ChatGPT or any of the other AI software out there that is going to make your statement of purpose maybe stand out. Don't plagiarize your statement of purpose. We do have software to detect both of these. And so we want to make sure that your work is completely original, that you're writing from your heart and from your experiences, and not someone else's. So please make sure that you're not going on to statementofpurpose.com, for example. I don't even know if that website exists, but maybe it does. And using that, because the software will detect that. Don't write too little. It's okay to write over 750 words, but don't write less than 500. That just shows us that maybe you're just kind of phoning it in, or you're not really taking seriously the process. And we can't really gauge your interest based on, and even your background and skills based on something written less than 500 words. So please make sure you're doing that. Do not copy and paste your statement of purpose into the text box. So you will see on our application that you can either upload a PDF, or you can copy and paste the statement of purpose into a little box offered to you. Don't upload it into the text box. This looks just unprofessional. It's tacky. It's hard to read and hard to follow. Please upload your statement of purpose as a PDF only. This is professional. This is standard across the board for graduate programs, and we want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best chance here. All right, moving on. So statement of purpose, that was a lot. It really is super important. This is your time to shine, so please make sure that you're doing the statement of purpose well. The other stuff is pretty easy. All right, so let's talk about the resume and CV, or curriculum vitae. The resume and CV on our application provides a summary of your experience and skills to the admissions committee. If you're doing a resume or a CV, either way, it doesn't matter, but both should be tailored to the specific program you are applying to. So you're applying to the Master of International Affairs degree program here at Penn State. You want to make sure that your resume and CV clearly shows us your background and how it has led you up into coming to the Master of International Programs here at Penn State. The resume or CV should create a great first impression that you are the best qualified candidate. This, again, will allow us to see what type of professional experience you have, any internships, any leadership experience, volunteer experience that you have, any publications that you've done, or maybe research that you've done with a faculty member. This is a really quick way for us to look through to see how you've been engaged even outside of the classroom at your undergraduate university. All right, here are some tips for the resume. And this is just a fake resume that I found on the interwebs. So we're going to go through this and use this as an example of, I think, a fairly good resume that we would like to see if someone applied to our program with this. So on a resume, particularly, the focus is placed on your professional experience and skills. Given we are a professional degree program, we do want to see your internships, professional experience, but we do know that some of you may be coming directly from your undergraduate program. So if you don't have professional experience or internship experience, that's completely okay. Go ahead and put in your volunteer experience or your leadership experience. Were you the leader of a club? Were you the president of an organization in your undergraduate degree? Did you volunteer on the weekends at a homeless shelter or something like that? Go ahead and put that towards the top as well. But of course, we want your education largely at the top, because without a bachelor's degree, you're not qualified for a program. So once you get the education done, go ahead and put in your professional leadership volunteer experience, and then any publications down there. If you have any off-campus work, I think it's fine to put that on there, but I wouldn't prioritize that over the maybe professional experiences or the leadership volunteer experiences. Maybe unless you were an undergrad and you were the manager of some business or something like that, then that may be beneficial, but try to keep it relevant towards our degree. A resume is more concise than a CV. CVs are typically used for PhD programs or largely for academia, because they really go through literally every single publication that someone has written. We are more or less interested in your resume, although if you do submit a CV, that's fine. But your resume really is going to be the best shot here on our application. Yes, when included in graduate school applications, particularly the resume that we'll be looking for from you, your education should remain at the top. So make that super clear. We want to see that. You can include relevant coursework for graduate applications. If you think that that is going to help you, although there is a section on our application specifically where you can put relevant coursework in. So you can weigh this in the balance of when you put your resume together, if you'd like to include the relevant coursework or not. I would say relevant publications or publications generally. Any awards, or if you graduated with honors, is probably more relevant or more important than relevant coursework. The resume does require more tailoring to the program in which you are applying to, so keep that in mind. We do want to make sure that your resume does outline where you've come from and how it leads you to come to SIA. And again, a resume is more appropriate for professional graduate degrees. You can submit a CV, but I would say the resume is probably more appropriate here. And of course, always upload it as a PDF. On our application, you'll see that you can actually copy and paste your resume into a text box. Please don't do that. Upload it as a PDF. If you have trouble with that, I would err always on the side of caution and just email us. It's not going to dock you any points or anything like that. Reach out to us. We're always happy to help. If you send it to us, we can turn it into a PDF, but try for yourself first. And then if you have trouble, please email us. Finally, keep it professional with minimal to no mistakes. Make sure that it is formatted well. It's systematic. It makes logical sense. You see here on this resume that all of the dates are lined up on the right, and then all of the headers and the bullet points are all lined up on the left. So make sure that there are no grammatical mistakes. Make sure if you're using punctuation that it's systematic and it parallels all the other sections in your resume. Tighten it up, make it look really good, so that we can assess your professionalism through the application. Okay. The next point I want to bring up is the letters of recommendation. This maybe the last big section, and then I think we're going to get to some just kind of key tips as far as putting together the application. And then we want to get to your questions, and I know some have been answered already, but feel free to put those questions in the chat, and we'll get in the question and answer box rather, and we'll get to those here pretty soon. Awesome. So letters of recommendation. Here are some tips for this. Well, first of all, you do need 2 letters of recommendation for our application, and we do recommend that you have at least 1 faculty member write that letter of recommendation. That is our suggestion. Sometimes, though, we understand folks are mid-career professionals and they've been out of their undergraduate program for quite some time, and they don't have contact with their faculty anymore. We get it. So make sure that you're asking someone, if that's you and that's the case, make sure that you're asking someone who can assess your interest in graduate program, your work ethic, your ability to take on graduate school work, that you work well with others and things like that. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're looking for in the letters of recommendation. But if you can't get a faculty member, maybe a supervisor or a mentor or something like that can write one for you. But again, the default is usually at least 1 faculty member. 2 is highly preferred. So your recommendation should be able to speak to the following. And we do provide your recommenders a prompt of sorts or suggestions and advice in the email they get. Once you submit your application, they'll get an automated email asking them to upload a letter on your behalf. And we do provide them some advice, but we do suggest that you sit down with them, maybe grab a cup of coffee with them or go to their office hours, as opposed to just an email. If you can make physical contact with your letter of recommendation as far as a meeting goes, I would highly suggest doing that so that you can let them know what your desires are, that you want to go to graduate school, what your goals are, what your dreams are, as far as attending a graduate program and what that looks like for your future career goals, so that they can really, put a name to a face, and also write you a really stellar letter of recommendation. I think that's some good advice there. So here's what your recommendation should be able to speak to, and this is what you can express to the letters of recommendation when you meet with them. 1, your ability to work well with others. This is important. Your ability to take on graduate work, and we really would like to see some examples of projects or papers or something like that that support this claim. We want to hear from your recommenders your drive, determination, and motivation for higher learning. Why express to your letter of recommendation why you want to go to graduate school, and hopefully they'll be able to express that conversation through the letter as well. And this can include what you want to do with this degree once you graduate. So some of the best letters of recommendation that I've seen are so-and-so a person, Jane Doe, for example, said that they wanted to become a human rights advocate in a particular field or organization, and this is kind of their 5-year plan. And I think that that's really great because it says that you've had a conversation with your letter of recommendation that this is what you want to do and why Penn State. Talk to your possible recommenders now. Give them time to write it. And this is why I'm saying this, to give them the professional courtesy. Don't show up in their office on January 24th of 2024 and ask them for a letter of recommendation and it's due in a week. Make sure you give them the professional courtesy of meeting with them now, talking with them about your dreams, goals, and visions, and ask them if they'll write a letter for you on your behalf. And again, bonus points for meeting with them. These are not real bonus points. I'm being facetious, but seriously, meet with them now. Meet with them in person, and express your interest in our program. Choose recommenders that you have a good relationship with. Maybe you went to their office hours quite often in your undergraduate program. Maybe you got an A in their class. Maybe you participated a lot in class, or they were the supervisor of a club that you were a part of. These are some of the best letters of recommendation that we've read. someone who we can tell that the faculty member and the student really had a great professional relationship, and those letters are stellar. The letters that aren't so great, we find, and it's really easy to tell that the student just emailed the professor and said, "Would you write a letter of recommendation for me?" And it wasn't as good. So it was short. They weren't able to really speak to their skills. They weren't really able to provide any examples. And these are the types of things that make a letter of recommendation kind of lukewarm, if you will. All right. So that's the letters of recommendation. That's my final piece on letters of recommendation. That was a lot. Here's the overarching understanding of letters of recommendation is that these are super important, and we want to make sure that these are good, but don't be so worried about the letters of recommendation above maybe your resume, your CV, some of the supplemental questions. Don't be so worried about the letters of recommendation more than your statement of purpose. This is an important part of the application, but it's not the most substantial part. I did just want to walk through with you how to get a really good letter of recommendation. And these, I think, are some tips that you can follow in order to succeed in that endeavor. Okay. Here are my additional tips for a successful application. Again, this is not all exhaustive. We're just kind of nipping in the bud early some of the common mistakes or pitfalls of applications to our program. And this is what we want to do as a service to you. So here's your reminder. The deadline for scholarships is January 31st of 2024. So start the application as soon as you can and give yourself the best chance. We need a entirely completed application by January 31st. Just going down the line here, upload a copy of the official transcript to the application. Sometimes universities will call this an unofficial transcript. You want to make sure that you're not uploading grade reports or screenshots of your grades or anything like that. We really do need a copy of the official or an unofficial transcript. And a lot of you will be able to download that from your university registrar, or sometimes you may be able to get a physical copy of sorts that you can upload as well. Upload all the required documents like your resume, statement of purpose, or anything else that you may upload physically to the application as a PDF. Do not put that in the text box. That doesn't look very good. And we may read it, but you may catch us on a bad day. So please make sure that you put it on. I'm only kidding, but please make sure you put it in as a PDF. That really makes reading them a lot easier, and it looks professional on your end. Going back to the top right here, do not wait to apply by late January. Give your recommenders time to write you a good letter of recommendation. Give yourself time. Take the stress off, take the load off. Apply now so that you really get to the top of our queue as far as decisions. And this is the other key point of applying maybe by December 31st, for example, is the earlier you apply, we expect to have decisions out in mid-February to mid-March. That's the kind of the range of decisions, of decision time. If you apply now, you'll be close to the top of our queue and you'll hear back from us faster than if you apply by January 15th. Then it'll take some time for your application materials to come in and for the application to be completed. And so it may take longer for us to get back to you. So this is why we encourage you to submit your application now, complete it in its entirety, and you'll hear back from us sooner than others. At the end of the application, moving down here to the question mark, at the end of the application, there are supplemental questions that are extremely important for the application. Very, very important. I did go over them on purpose because these are, we want to see what you're like without me giving you the golden nuggets on these supplemental questions. So, but you need to answer these very thoroughly. Don't write too much. We do have guidelines on them, but there are important supplemental questions at the end of the application that we want you to answer them well. Don't skip them. Sometimes people will skip them, and that's not a good idea. Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there though to answer those questions well. And finally, the GRE is not required, but if you'd like to submit GRE scores, if you've taken them, you can do so anytime using code 2660. That'll automatically send your GRE scores from ETS to Penn State, and then they'll attach to your application. If you've taken GRE and you want to submit your scores, they can only help you. If you haven't taken GRE score or taken the GRE exam, you don't want to take the GRE exam, or your scores were bad and you don't want to send them here, that's completely fine. Again, scores can only help you. They can't hurt you. Not submitting them can't hurt you. And so I wanted to make that clear as well. If you're an international applicant or aspiring applicant here today, some tips for you. Submit your English proficiency scores to Penn State as soon as possible. If you've taken the TOEFL, again, you can use 2660 to send your scores from ETS to the Penn State Graduate School. If you've taken the IELTS, just choose Penn State University, and they'll get sent here as well. Sometimes it'll ask you for a department. Typically, our department's not listed. I think you can choose other or something like that, and those will get sent to Penn State and they'll attach. So don't worry too much about that. Also, for international students, check the country eligibility to determine what documents need uploaded at the time of application. In order to not delay the application process or the admissions process, I highly encourage international applicants to look through and determine what degree certificates, transcripts they need to upload, or any other documents needed at the time of application. If we have to chase you around for some of these documents, it can really delay the process. So please make sure you're doing your due diligence again to determine, based on the country in which you've earned a degree, what certificates need to be uploaded for every degree that you've reported that you've earned, as well as the transcripts, whether they be in the native language or the English translation. And finally, we do want to ask you to connect with us at any time throughout this process. Feel free to reach out to us. You can email us, you can call and text, and you can go ahead and scan that code to apply. So feel free to join us at a future webinar where we go more in depth regarding our program. If this is the first time you've been introduced to our program, you can join us for a webinar where we go through the curriculum and the opportunities available to students. But today we wanted to take some time to give you some key points on how to successfully put together a great application to our program. And with that, I'm going to get out of the way, although I'll still be here. But I'm hoping to answer some of your questions, and I know that some have been answered in the chat already, which I'll go through, look through these, and see if I can answer them for the good of the group. So someone asked a really good question regarding letters of recommendation, and again, if you want to go ahead and use the Q&A box to ask your questions, that would be really great. So someone asks, do we need to finish/fill out the application before links can be sent to our recommenders, or can those links go out as we are still working on the application? So that's a really good question. You will need to have the information of your recommenders included in the application. Once you submit the application on your end, then they will get that information. So they won't get the prompt or the special link to upload the letter on your behalf until you submit the application. This is why I'm encouraging you to maybe set a deadline of December 31st, for example, or even earlier. It's up to you, so that you give them time to receive that email, as well as upload the letter and maybe troubleshoot any issues on their end. Awesome. Great question. Someone else asks, regarding the CV or resume, will a 2-page be acceptable, or should I only stick to 1 page? So the length at this stage of the game, especially because you'll be applying to a graduate program and you probably have so much experience and things going on in your life that you want to show us on the resume, don't worry about the length. That is something that is not as important in this stage of the game as it would be for something else. So you can go on to 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages if you need. But typically, I would say that the typical length, just historically speaking, is anywhere from 1 to 3 pages of a resume or CV. So that was a great question. I thought that was good for the group as well. Awesome. So some other questions are coming in here. Yeah, this is a really good question that someone asks is, are there statements of purpose you remember that especially stood out, and what did those students do differently? That's a super question. I think that um, the statements of purpose that really stick out to us are the ones that have uh, that tell a story of where the student came from as far as maybe the experiences that they've come from, maybe the city, town, country that they've come from, and the types of things that they participated in growing up that have greatly motivated them to come to this point. You know, for example, we just had a story recently published on a woman in our program from Iraq. And actually, if you want to go on our website and read that story, it's really motivating and touching. But in her story, she particularly talked about how she was fleeing Iraq constantly growing up, and this really motivated her to pursue a career in politics and public service. That's an extreme example, but if you can find something in your life that said, okay, this was the class I took, or this was the thing I experienced, or I remember watching this thing on the news constantly, and it just motivated me to move in this direction. I think that that's more powerful than I really like a particular subject, and I used to play Risk a lot, and that's what's motivated me to get to this point. So I hope that's helpful. Um, I think really what I'm saying is if you can tie some level of emotion into it, and how something has maybe affected you emotionally in some way or intellectually, I think that that's a better recipe for success than some others that we've read. So hopefully that helps. And that's a great question. Yeah. Someone asks if there's an application fee waiver. And oh, I'm sorry. Does the question is does the application fee waiver have a deadline, or is it until January 31st of 2023? So we currently have an application fee waiver going on right now for fall 2024, and that will end on December 3rd of 2023. We may or may not have more application fee waivers going out throughout our time up until January 31st. But please keep an eye out on your email. Email is the best way we communicate. If you're here, you probably know that already. So read every email because you never know what's going to be in them. But yeah, we do have a current fee waiver going through December 3rd, 2023. And that will expire at midnight Eastern time. So please keep an eye on that as well. Great. Are there any other questions? Someone asks, how well can the GRE score influence your admission decision in an instance where it is not required? Regarding the GRE score, so if you submit this, the data has shown us that folks who do submit a GRE score, a quality GRE score rather, are typically considered for higher scholarships than those who don't, but it's not always true. Sometimes people don't submit GRE scores and they get the same level of scholarship as someone who submits good GRE scores. I would say maybe if you've taken the GRE and your GPA is maybe a little lower than average, or you don't have a lot of experience or things like that, a good GRE score may help you. Again, nothing is guaranteed, but it may help to increase your chances at a better, maybe a better scholarship as well. So good question regarding the GRE scores. Feel free to submit them, even if you don't think that they're great. Feel free to still submit them. Someone asks, what is the usual career track of former students? this really is a very broad question, mainly because we do have students, graduates in a lot of different sectors, doing all kinds of different things. We have folks working in NGOs or international governmental organizations such as the UN. We have folks at Booz Allen, government contracting places, folks working as consultants. National security is a popular one for us. The State Department and diplomacy have been attracting our students quite frequently. We do have some students at think tanks or research arms, not students, but graduates, alumni. A lot of our alumni end up in DC. Some end up in New York, and then the remainder, just kind of scattered throughout the world. All right, another question is, what is the acceptance rate of this master's program? Maybe you can show stats of previous years, etc. This is a good question. We do get this question a lot. We don't typically track the acceptance rate, but what I can tell you is typically we're able to form a class of around 30 to 40% of our total applications. So we get a class usually of around 60 to 70 students. And that is typically about 30 to 40% of our total apps. So if that's any indication, you can maybe be able to draw some conclusions off of that, but there's that. Thank you. I will also say regarding merit-based scholarships, and this is why we want you to apply early, and especially by the January 31st deadline, is over 70% of our admitted students are receiving some form of merit-based scholarship. So there is a very high chance that if you're here today and you follow almost to a T what I've said, that there's a good chance you may receive. Again, nothing is guaranteed. Scholarships are based completely on the merit of your application and nothing else. There's a good chance you may receive a merit-based scholarship from us. So, do well in the application. Again, you have to execute. I can give you the information. You still have to execute the information and apply on time and make it a good application. But you put yourself in a good running for merit-based scholarships. When I'm talking so much, the English language is becoming more difficult for me. Okay. Someone asks, being non-STEM degree, will it open doors to stay more than 1 year with a visa, with a job for international students, or do we have to come back? So for international students, there is an opportunity for this thing called OPT. I believe it stands for Occupational Practical Training. You have to forgive me if I got the acronym incorrect. In any case, it allows you 1 year. You apply for it. It allows you 1 year of work within the United States, as long as you secure a position, and it essentially extends your visa so that you can work for 1 year. It's only 1 year. We do have a lot of international students that go the OPT route once they graduate from our program. Our director of career services is international himself, and he's very familiar with this process, and so that's someone that you can lean on for support in that way. So thank you. Someone else asks, does merit-based allow for full funding or partial? Our merit-based scholarship model is partial funding only. We don't have any full tuition scholarships for any student, although our scholarships can help discount tuition anywhere from 15% to 60% of total tuition. The top earners of scholarships are really our best applications. We don't really reserve a particular amount of scholarships per student, for example. However, those who submit an application that is of high quality could expect anywhere from like a 40 to 50% tuition discount, and upwards towards 60%. However, what I'll say is if you're applying to our program and you do get a scholarship, you should expect to pay some form of tuition, whether that be out of pocket with external scholarships, grants, loans, or anything like that. So please keep that in mind when you're applying to our program as well. Another question is, are there graduate teaching assistantships available? Within our program, there are not. However, at the broader Penn State University, there are. If you're fully matriculated into our program and you start in fall 2024, you'll be able to apply for teaching or graduate assistantships across the university in other departments or academic units. Largely, we find our students are getting GAs. The small amount of students, I should say, that are getting GAs are largely in administrative roles, not necessarily teaching, unless you have some specialized skill that a department could use for a class to teach. Go for it. Most students getting a GA or a TA position are not getting them until the second semester of their first year, or not until the second year entirely. So don't put all your eggs in one basket and say, I'll just go to Penn State and get a GA. I don't think that that's very smart. Hopefully you'll get a scholarship from us. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. If you do get one from us and then you get a GA, let that kind of be the icing on the cake, if you will. So it's a good question, one we get quite frequently. Okay, there are 4 minutes left. I'm happy to give you time back, but I'm happy to also answer any outstanding questions that are out there. Someone asks, does TA-ship need any particular language proficiency score? I don't know. I'm not sure. So I would say when you're applying to different TA-ships on campus, if you get to that point, we can provide you the link that allows you to search for the TA-ships, and you'll just have to make sure that your skills line up with the job description. It's really like applying to any other job anywhere else. So whether they require particular language proficiency scores is really up to them.